Hey guys, Everything NFL here, and today I am back with another video talking about the best off-season edition for every NFL team. I know we're going off topic a bit because I said only draft content. This is a video that I've been working on since yesterday, and I really wanted to release it. I was thinking of holding out until after the draft, but I was like, no, I want to release this today, so I did. And yeah, no messing about, let's get right into it. We're going to start off in the east to north to south to west, and we'll go AFC then NFC, just so you guys know the layout of how I'm doing this. For the Patriots, they had a pretty weak off-season. Their two biggest signings were Damiere Byrd and Bo Allen, but I went with Damiere Byrd because they need a wide receiver, and Damiere Byrd, he's not great, but he's not bad, so he's going to be a good addition for whoever is quarterback next season in New England. We're going to fly through these. For Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs, fantastic wide receiver. The Bills traded a first, a fifth, and a sixth, and received a seventh from Minnesota as part of the trade. So a good trade for the Buffalo Bills, gives Josh Allen another weapon to work with next season. For the Jets, Brashard Perriman, they needed a receiver with the loss of Robbie Anderson, and Brashard Perriman had a great season last year for the Buccaneers, a bit of a breakout season if you want to call it that, and he will come to New York and do good things. Finally, this was a really tough one for my team, the Miami Dolphins. I wasn't really too sure who to put in here. I was either thinking Kyle Van Noy or Byron Jones, but in the end, I went with Byron Jones. Fantastic cornerback, one of the best corners in the NFL, will go alongside Xavier Howard and set up one of the best cornerback duos in the National Football League. Moving on to the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens, their best addition, in my opinion, was Calais Campbell. I know he's getting old. He just got traded from Jacksonville for a 5th-round pick. He is amazing. One of the best 3-4 or 4-3 defensive linemen. He can play anywhere on the defensive line, but he's one of the best defensive linemen in the National Football League, and that is a fantastic addition for the Baltimore Ravens. For the Steelers, Eric Ebron, tight end. I think he signed a free agent. So I think it was like 2 years, 12 million or something. It's not a huge contract, but Eric Ebron is a good signing. Their best tight end on their roster currently was Vance McDonald, and then it was Nick Vannett, so they didn't have too many good options, but now Eric Ebron is there. They've got a solid tight end who was fantastic during his time in Indianapolis. Next up for the Cleveland Browns, we have Jack Conklin. Cleveland assembled a really, really good team last year, but completely forgot about the offensive line and just didn't do any work on it whatsoever. But Jack Conklin, a signing from the Tennessee Titans, is a fantastic addition. One of the best tackles in the NFL, made the Pro Bowl once. He's fantastic. I think he will be a class addition on that Cleveland Browns offensive line. Going on to the Bengals, who had a really good free agency. We could have put so many different players in here, but I went with DJ Reader. Great nose tackle for the Houston Texans. Will play amazingly alongside generational defensive tackle Geno Atkins. The Bengals have kind of wasted Geno Atkins' prime, but with DJ Reader next to Geno Atkins, DJ Reader could grow into a player like Geno Atkins, even though he's like 26, but we never know. For the Houston Texans, had a terrible offseason, but they managed to bring it back up a bit by the trading for Brandon Cooks from the Los Angeles Rams. So he will be the DeAndre Hopkins replacement in a terrible trade that saw him go to the Arizona Cardinals. Absolutely horrific, but Brandon Cooks will come in. He's a good wide receiver, but his contract is horrific, so they've got to restructure that contract as soon as possible and save as much cap space as soon as possible. The Titans didn't really do too much, but they added Vic Beasley, who about 3 years ago was good. He hasn't really been too good since then. So this is a really weird choice. They paid him a lot of money as well. I think it was like 3 years, 30 million. So that's a lot of money for a player who hasn't been good in a while. So let's just hope Vic Beasley can come back to form in Tennessee. Next up for the Colts, this one was a toss-up between DeForest Buckner, who they traded for from the 49ers, or their big signing, Phillip Rivers. I went with Phillip Rivers. Last year, the Colts suffered from terrible quarterback play from Jacoby Brissett. It wasn't terrible, it was pretty bad, but it wasn't terrible. So Phillip Rivers will come in, and I think, like I said in my video I did quite a while ago, nearly a month ago now, I think, why Phillip Rivers will bounce back in Indianapolis. I'll leave a link to that in the description so you guys can check that out. And I think Phillip Rivers will be fantastic in Indianapolis. I think he will help Indy get back to the playoffs after Houston have just lost DeAndre Hopkins. So I think the Colts have the best chance to win the division out of anyone here. Next up for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they also added Tyler Eifert, but I went with Joe Schobert, a Pro Bowl linebacker for the Cleveland Browns. I was really surprised the Cleveland Browns let him go in free agency. Cleveland also let go of Christian Kirksey. I was surprised. So linebacker is an option for the Jaguars that they took. Him, Miles Jack, if Telvin Smith ever plays again. then yeah, Telvin Smith will be there. Jake Ryan is now gone. I don't know where he's gone, but he's left. So it's a good set in middle linebacker now with Joe Schobert and Miles Jack together. I think this is a great signing for the Jaguars. I'm very, very intrigued to see how well he will do next season. Moving on to the final division in the AFC West. For the Chiefs, I went with Mike Remmers. He's not a very good tackle, but the Chiefs need offensive line. That was their weakness near on most of the last season. But when you've got Patrick Mahomes under centre, you will not struggle. No matter what team you are, you will not struggle if you've got Patrick Mahomes under centre. So Mike Remmers will come in and just be a bit more protection for him. For the Denver Broncos, they added Melvin Gordon, running back from the Los Angeles Chargers. They traded for him. And I think... did they trade for him? I'm not too sure. But the Melvin Gordon is a good addition. He will be a fantastic 1-2 punch with Philip Lindsay. Philip Lindsay is one of the best running backs in the league, and Melvin Gordon is also one of the best running backs in the league when he's fully committed to being on the field, because last year he held out on his contract and he didn't get a new deal. And yeah, now he's with the Broncos, and let's see what happens, because him and Lindsay together with Drew Lock under helm, Cortland Sutton, and possibly a new wide receiver in the NFL draft, that Denver Broncos offense is looking really, really good. Now for the Raiders, I think this is one of the best signings in all of free agency. The Raiders added linebacker Corey Littleton from the Los Angeles Rams. I think this is a fantastic addition. They needed linebacker horrifically last year. Their best linebackers were like Marquel Lee and, what is his name? Tahir Whitehead, and the team was terrible at linebacker, and now Corey Littleton comes in. He's going to upgrade that immediately and be the best linebacker on the team. And for the Chargers, they added Chris Harris Jr., a cornerback from the Denver Broncos, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He'd outworn his stay in Denver. He wanted a new challenge, and off he goes to Los Angeles, a team that is built to win now. So if Los Angeles gets their quarterback in the draft, i.e. Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa, the Chargers could be in game to win championships soon. They've got a fantastic team. They just need to get it all right. Now, moving on to the NFC, we'll start off in the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles. Darius Slay, they traded a 3rd and a 5th round pick to the Detroit Lions for him, and in my opinion, it's a fantastic trade. He wasn't as good last season, but Darius Slay is one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. I think this is a fantastic deal, and the Eagles definitely got the best end of this deal. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys, they brought in Gerald McCoy. I'm not sure how much they paid for him, but he spent the last 2 years with the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. He was with the Buccaneers for years before that. And I think he's a fantastic addition to this line that lost Robert Quinn to the Chicago Bears. And Tristan Hill wasn't exactly amazing, and DeMarcus Lawrence needs to improve a lot. So I think Gerald McCoy is a fantastic addition to this team. For the New York Giants, I got Blake Martinez, linebacker from the Green Bay Packers. Was really good last season. He's one of the best tackling linebackers in the National Football League. I don't care what anyone says. He's not too good in zone or holding up down the middle. He's a fantastic tackler. He's a run-stopping linebacker, and that is what the Giants needed after their best linebackers last year were Ryan Conley, David Mayo, Lorenzo Carter. Marcus Golden was good. O'Shane Zimenez, pardon me. For the Redskins, I've gone with Kendall Fuller. He returns after a stint with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was originally drafted by the Washington Redskins, then moved to Kansas City, and is now back in Washington. I think this is a great addition. They need a cornerback after... I don't know why, but they let Quinton Dunbar go to free agency, which I do not understand whatsoever. And they signed Ronald Darby to replace him, who is terrible. He is so much better than... Quinton Dunbar is so much better than Ronald Darby, and this just shocks me. I can't believe it. But that's the Washington Redskins organisation for you. What do we know? Next up, for the Green Bay Packers, I have Rick Wagner, former tackle for the Detroit Lions. After letting Brian Bulaga went to the Chargers, that was an option for me when I was writing down the Chargers. But Brian Bulaga is gone. They need to replace him, and that's what Rick Wagner will do. I don't think he's as good as Brian Bulaga, but he will come in and fill that void and hopefully play very well for Green Bay. Next up, for the Minnesota Vikings, we have Michael Pierce. He's a fantastic defensive tackle who just signed from the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think the deal was a lot of money. I think it was like for 3 years, 42 mil or something. It's a fantastic deal for a defensive tackle of Michael Pierce's skills. I think he's one of the best in the NFL, and this is a great addition to a defensive line that suffered. Him, next to Danielle Hunter, could be one of the best duos in the National Football League next season. And for the Chicago Bears, this is interesting. I was thinking, go Robert Quinn. He's a good edge rusher, But then I was thinking, what does the team need more? The Bears are holding themselves up by not moving on from Mitchell Trubisky. So I put Nick Foles down here. Nick Foles could be the guy that steps in on a short-term basis and takes them to the playoffs, or gets them to win games and push forward to being a successful team like they were in 2018. For the Detroit Lions, I wrote down Desmond Trufant. He was brought in on a deal to replace Darius Slay. I think it was 2 years, 23 million or something. He was brought in to replace him, and I think it's an overall okay replacement. He's no Darius Slay. That's why the Lions will be going out and getting a cornerback in the NFL draft on Thursday night. And yeah, that's it for the Lions. Now let's move on to the NFC South. For the Saints, this was a toss-up between Emmanuel Sanders or Malcolm Jenkins. I went with Malcolm Jenkins. He's been there before. He knows the system. The team needed him next to Marcus Williams. That Saints defense looks amazing. The Saints haven't really got too many holes on their team. They need a linebacker. That's why they're going to get a linebacker in the draft, I personally think. But yeah, Malcolm Jenkins is a fantastic addition. And Emmanuel Sanders next to Michael Thomas on offense. Drew Brees has got Alvin Kamara as well, running back, and one of the best offensive lines in football. The Saints team looks amazing. Be sure to look out for them next year. They will be primed for a Super Bowl run. The Atlanta Falcons, I put down Todd Gurley. I think Todd Gurley on his day is the best running back in the NFL when he's fully healthy. And the Rams cut him because he hasn't been healthy and he hasn't lived up to the money that they paid for him. So I personally think the Falcons, if Gurley's healthy, the Falcons will get the best Todd Gurley. And it will be sick for them because he would just elevate them, because Devonta Freeman was terrible for the last few years. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, obviously no one else, Tom Brady, great addition, best quarterback of all time in the National Football League, and he's now in Tampa Bay, and he will be replacing Jameis Winston, who threw for over 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Not a good season. Brady also took a step back in 2019 with the Patriots, but they fell to the Tennessee Titans in the wild card round. And he's now here in Tampa Bay for a new challenge. 2 years, $50 million deal. This is a good signing. Bruce Arians, they call him the quarterback guru. And Tom Brady should play well with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. He needs to get O.J. Howard in that system more, because if O.J. Howard is in that system more, he will be amazing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, moving on to the Carolina Panthers, I have Teddy Bridgewater. They got him from the New Orleans Saints. Teddy Bridgewater, in my opinion, is amazing, and I think this is a great addition, and he's definitely their quarterback for the future. I think if Teddy Bridgewater, in my opinion, is a quarterback who can take any team well. Like, Drew Brees was injured last season. Teddy Bridgewater stepped in and won every game. Amazing. So I think Teddy Bridgewater is a great signing for the Carolina Panthers. He's definitely better than Cam Newton now, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Carolina, but Teddy B is the man for Carolina. Now, for the 49ers, they didn't really sign anyone. The best player they signed was Travis Benjamin, and he's terrible. So I just put here, their best addition was getting that first-round pick for DeForest Buckner. They extended Eric Armstead to a lot of money. I think it's 5 years, $85 million. It's a huge deal. Extended him, and then that means DeForest Buckner was no longer needed, despite being one of the best defensive tackles in football. He has now been traded to the Indianapolis Colts, and for a first-round pick, the 13th overall pick to be precise, which they will then use to make more additions to their team and trade down possibly. Next up for the Seahawks, one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the NFL, Quinton Dunbar. He is fantastic, and I think the Seahawks got a great deal here. He will pair up with Trey Flowers. Is it Trey Flowers and Shaquille Griffin? I think it's Shaquem's the linebacker, Shaquille Griffin. And that is a good cornerback trio for the defense to help Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. For the Rams, this was a toss-up for me. I could have gone, who was the other one? A'Shawn Robinson or Leonard Floyd. I decided to go with A'Shawn Robinson because Greg Gaines is not the answer at defensive tackle. Wasn't very good. A'Shawn Robinson is still young. I believe he's only 25. He should excel on the defensive line next to Aaron Donald, and it will be amazing, because I think the Rams, they need to do something soon, or this whole project that they built with Sean McVay and etc. could fall apart, because they were a bit like a one and done. Got to a Super Bowl, didn't even make the playoffs last season, so it's going to be really interesting to what they do. And the biggest steal of the whole of free agency, the Arizona Cardinals getting DeAndre Hopkins. Unreal trade. Arizona Cardinals were trying to get rid of David Johnson, and they did, and they got DeAndre Hopkins in return, which is phenomenal. I think the Texans gave up Hopkins and a 4th for David Johnson and a 2nd or something. So it's It's a fantastic trade. I think there was a little bit more involved, but I'm not too sure. Great trade. The Cardinals got arguably the best wide receiver in the game, and it is just unreal. The Cardinals are going to take off next year, I think. Get a tackle in the draft. Good tight end in Max Williams. Wide receivers, you've got DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best right now. Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best wide receivers of all time. Christian Kirk, one of the best young slot receivers in the NFL today. And at running back, Kenyon Drake, breakout star last year, was traded from the Miami Dolphins. They've got a fantastic offense and expect Kyler Murray to elevate this team to new heights in 2020. And that's it for today's video, guys. There will be no video tomorrow as I will be working on my mock draft that will be coming out on Thursday, the day of the NFL draft. As I said, we are only 2 nights away from the NFL draft now. I cannot wait. I hope you guys are excited too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never ever miss a video. And I will be back on Thursday with my 3rd and final NFL mock draft. See you later, guys.